At the University of Toledo, we are surrounded by experts. And we tap into those experts here on Rocket Talk.
At the end of last year, many of us made resolutions for 2022. The big ones are, of course, lose weight, eat healthier, and exercise. And there are others. Spend more time with family, get out of debt, maybe look for a new job. But studies show many people can't make it to the end of February, present company included. So here to talk about how to keep those resolutions we've already made and setting realistic, attainable goals, Dr. Tanvir Singh, a full professor in the Department of Psychiatry and medical director for the addiction program, as well as child and adolescent psychiatry inpatient unit. He has 35 peer-reviewed publications. And Andrew Misko, a certified strength and conditioning specialist. He teaches strength and conditioning, endurance conditioning, exercise facility management, and coordinates human performance and fitness internships. He also has group exercise and personal training experience. Good to have you both here. And our student producer and photojournalist Ruben Hagedorn met with Andrew and one of his interns earlier, and they show us some tips for people who may need a little extra help with their exercise routine. And we're going to talk about how to keep all types of resolutions too. But first, here's Ruben.
Many people struggle to keep up with their New Year's resolutions, especially when it comes to working out. So how can they make this year different?
Working out is easier said than done. Andrew Misko, in exercise science at UToledo, says that's why most people give up within the first 6 months of their workout routine.
There's a lot of barriers associated with compliance to an exercise program.
Like lack of motivation and not having the time. But he says we have to make the time and we may need to bring others along.
One way that someone could be more motivated would be to work with, say, a group of individuals or with a friend.
Misko, along with his student intern Sam, demonstrated various workouts to me. They emphasized the importance of holding specific positions and making slower, more controlled movements in order to engage specific muscles to use and work them more for an optimal workout session.
Exercise is a skill. I think what will help people become motivated is understanding that this actually takes practice, just like playing a guitar or learning how to draw. You will see results. It might just take some time.
Misko says while many people believe workout machines are better than using dumbbells or elastic straps, there is more than one way to reach your fitness goals, and all of these methods are effective tools that can be used to accomplish them. For Rocket Talk, I'm Ruben Hagedorn.
Some good advice there for people who are comfortable getting a gym membership. But Andrew, as you probably know, a lot of people are afraid just to step into the gym. Mm-hmm. What advice do you have for people who maybe aren't ready to do that yet? Can you have a exercise routine without all of that expensive equipment and just from home?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things you can do at home. For example, doing something like just body weight exercises, doing something with bands, or with there's the number of resources you have at your expense is almost infinite. For example, someone could use something as simple as like a milk jug to do curls or to lift up. I know that's very unorthodox, but it is something that can be done. Doing squats with something, doing bicep curls with one. It does not have to actually be a physical dumbbell. It could be anything.
And Dr. Singh, you deal with people recovering from addiction. And before the show, you told me that there are some similarities in the way you approach people overcome or recovering from addiction and people who are just trying to develop new, better habits. Can you talk about those parallels?
Yeah, we all are trying to change our behaviors. We're trying to add more positive behaviors. Behavior change is always hard. So behavior, the way I say to my patient is, it's like a tram which would run on the tracks which it is used to. Tracks are our past behaviors, actions, and thoughts. So we build those tracks, and behavior just run over those tracks. So when you are trying to change a behavior, you are trying to establish and build a new track. So that's a process. It's not an event. So it's not like if you just put 1st January as a label, that it just changes. It's a process. It's going to take time.
How do you begin that? How do you tell people to begin that process?
Well, the process takes time, needs persistence, needs effort. Sometimes a teamwork helps. Like if you involve your family or your mentors when you're trying to do, and the focus plays a key role too. It's like, you're establishing something new. It's like you're learning a skill which is new, needs a conscious effort. So like, I want to drive a car. So I'm really motivated, I really need to, but I cannot just drive it, sit in the car and start driving. I got to learn how to drive. So I have to develop that skill, which will take time, which will need some support and guidance, and then I do have that skill.
Take smoking for an example. There are some people who are able to quit cold turkey, and then other people need a lot of professional help. How does one know if they need to reach out to a professional? And where do you begin?
So there are some exceptions, people who can make a major change in the behavior. But majority of us do struggle with a major change in behavior. And we can try to do it on our own, come up with our own plan, but if that plan is not enough, that's when we can seek out more help. Starting with just the family members, colleagues, friends, and then if that's not enough, then we look for more professional help.
At what point does someone call it? Several weeks in, is February, if it's not working by February, is that the time when you reach out for professional help?
Yeah, so whenever you're trying to do something difficult, failures is more of a rule rather than an exception. So it depends on how many failures you have. When you're reaching a point that you feel kind of helpless, that's the time when you get more help.
Okay. Andrew, I think bottom line, everyone wants peace and happiness. Mm-hmm. Do you find with your clients that when they start working out, being healthier, that overall things get better? Some of the other things come easier, maybe?
I do, because I feel like when you help them set realistic goals, it's just like little baby steps. They learned how to do this exercise that they normally or before couldn't do. Or maybe their goal was to get 10 push-ups as opposed to their baseline, which was 5. So making those little realistic goals and then accomplishing those realistic goals within a realistic timeline, they keep at it. They have more sessions with you. And then they want to try new things. Well, I did this exercise. How about we add some additional weight to it? Or how about we try a more advanced technique? So just like I mentioned in the other video, when it's a skill and when you get better at that skill, you feel more comfortable with it. And when you're more comfortable, you'll have more confidence. And it's just sort of from there, it's just stepping stones and you just get better and better and better.
Why do most people give up or get discouraged?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of barriers to exercise, and usually we see that within 6 months, people just sort of stop. Like you mentioned, February. I think what it is, some people might want results very quickly, and we have to understand that there's a lot of kind of physiological mechanisms that need to happen and occur for them to see these results in a timely and realistic manner. I think the other reason is kind of like what you had mentioned with like a social support structure. I think if you have a partner or a group of individuals to do it with, there's some group motivation to want to go exercise on a specific schedule. Obviously, there's always some self-accountability associated with exercise, but you're more than likely to kind of entwine that into your lifestyle when you do it with other people, and then it becomes sort of ingrained into your lifestyle if you keep at it for months or years.
Okay. Yeah. So Dr. Singh, with about a minute left, how much damage does stigma do for people who just are afraid to admit that they need some help?
It's a resistance. It's a resistance, especially when you're doing something hard to start with, and then you add the stigma to it. So then it does get even more difficult. Yeah, it does get very difficult.
What do you say to people who are dealing with that? How to overcome that?
You try to make, first thing is we got to understand nobody is perfect. We all come with flaws. Some of our flaws hurt us more than some other flaws which don't hurt us as much. Our society look at different flaws in a different way. So trying to make it look normal, even the flaws we have, does help. So then they don't feel isolated and disconnected with everything else.
Okay. Well, I appreciate both of you for joining us today. That is all the time we have for Rocket Talk, but we'll be back next week with more Rocket Talk from the University of Toledo.